The National Desk, America's News, now.
New numbers in this week. Inflation in June, the highest reported in more than 40 years. The question everyone is asking, will things get worse before they get better?
We're having to stretch meals.
It's scary.
It's harder than it was back in the 1980s.
When inflation is predicted to peak, and our fact-check team on why some think a recession is already here. New video leaked to the press showing exactly how long police stood outside as a gunman killed 21 inside a classroom in Uvalde, Texas.
Absolutely wrong protocol from the very beginning.
How a torn community is reacting, and an expert breaks down what could have been done to save lives. Congress holding a vote on abortion rights as a 10-year-old leaves her state to terminate a rape pregnancy. The renewed debate happening nationwide.
Killing the unborn child, that just makes 2 victims.
While this story is really important, it's only one of hundreds.
A closer look at the abortion battles happening across America. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Eugene Ramirez. On this weekend edition, we take a look at the big headlines of the week and a look ahead at what to expect. The 4 big stories we're following for you this week. The latest inflation numbers revealing the biggest jump in prices in 40 years. Congress taking steps to make abortion a federal right. Video from the halls of Robb Elementary School reigniting outrage about law enforcement's response to that massacre, and the president's trip to Saudi Arabia causing controversy. We'll start with devastating news for America's economy. Prices in June were even worse than many feared, 9.1% higher than June of last year, the highest rate since November of 1981. Now, that number driven mostly by high energy prices, things like gas up nearly 60%. Food up 10.4% and housing also up 5.6% there. The White House pointing to a few reasons for the jumps this week.
The inflation we're seeing is due to the pandemic and is due to the war. And we're not done with this pandemic. We have full faith and confidence that over the coming months that inflation will be coming down.
But maybe not enough. Bank of America, the latest bank predicting a mild recession this year. One of the reasons they say is aggressive moves by the Federal Reserve, which could increase interest rates by as much as a full 1% at their next meeting. Now, the Fed hoping, of course, higher interest rates will make people spend less. But in the meantime, it's going to cost people more. The rate hikes are making it more expensive to borrow money on everything from credit cards to mortgages and car loans. With rate hikes of 1.5% already this year, a loan for a $47,000 car will cost nearly $60 more per month in interest than last year. A growing number of Americans fear a recession is right around the corner. Major companies like Google and Netflix are announcing hiring freezes and mass layoffs. Well, the National Desk's Ryan Smith spoke with small business owners about what they're doing to weather the economic storm ahead.
It's been a turbulent couple of years for American business owners, navigating shutdowns through the pandemic to supply chain woes and now record-setting price hikes. Well, now a potential recession on the horizon. Jill Bomarito founded Ethel's Baking Company in Metro Detroit about a decade ago.
We're just about sharing great food, truly. And I'm passionate about small business. I grew up in small business. It's the backbone of our family.
While her decadent desserts are on the shelves at Whole Foods and other grocery chains, she describes the last couple of years as the perfectly imperfect storm.
It's been one thing after another, and we don't see the end in sight. It's really not about COVID any longer. Certainly that's still here. It's about supply chain, workforce, access to capital.
Some 93% of small business owners worry the U.S. will enter a recession in the next 6 months. That according to a new survey released by Goldman Sachs. 78% believe the economy has only gotten worse in the past 3 months.
You can't have a conversation today with another small business owner and it comes up.
And a new wave of layoffs and hiring freezes are adding to the anxiety. In June, Netflix and Tesla announcing layoffs in the hundreds, followed by Twitter, GameStop, and Victoria's Secret this month. Tech giant Google issuing a memo to employees warning of a hiring slowdown through the year.
They're trying to mitigate costs at anything that they can do. So if that has to do with, cutting back on things, of course, their payroll comes into play with that also.
While economists forecast a potential recession in the coming months, Amarillo strategizes daily to stay one step ahead.
But I will tell you, every day we're addressing price increases, workforce challenges, and supply chain.
And Jill Bomarito, along with 2,500 other small business owners, will travel to Washington, D.C. next week, meeting with government officials to voice their concerns about that looming recession and how exactly to weather this economic storm. In Washington, Ryan Smith for the National Desk.
Now, for the first time in months, gas prices are actually heading down. As of Friday, the average price for a gallon of gas is about $4.60. That's 15 cents below what they were just a week ago. Gas Buddy's Patrick DeHaan says the decline in oil prices will likely continue and gas prices will follow.
I think we could continue to see that widen, maybe 60 cents a gallon or even 70 cents a gallon below their peak, as gas prices will likely decline another 10, maybe even as much as 30 cents a gallon.
DeHaan also warning hurricane season and the Russian attack on Ukraine could change his predictions. Leaked surveillance video of the police response in Uvalde, Texas, getting strong reactions from the local community. The images are horrifying. We see the gunman approaching and entering the school. A child spots him and runs away. We also hear multiple blasts of rapid gunfire. We see the officers arriving at the scene and that long wait before they finally take down the shooter. Now, we're only showing you the images here. The sound is just too disturbing. The parents of those young victims outraged.
The main thing that stood out to me was that, the amount of time they were in there and that, the amount of law enforcement there and just them not acting. Shots being fired and, you're just standing in the hallway. And there's just no excuse for that.
Now, that video shows officers were inside for more than 70 minutes before they entered the classroom. Our National Desk reporters in San Antonio have been following this investigation since that shooting happened. They showed the video to Danny Garcia. He's a former police chief in Phoenix and assistant chief in Dallas, Texas. He says there are several points where law enforcement got it wrong.
Right off the bat, you see a plainclothes officer, a detective, wearing an unsecured vest, and he's carrying a handgun. And he takes the lead position over two officers armed with assault rifles. Absolutely wrong protocol from the very beginning.
Is there any doubt in your mind that lives were lost because of the responses?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Well, he also added, and other sources we spoke to agree, that it was the wrong decision to release this video before the families were able to view it first. Abortion rights issues gaining even more attention this week after news of a 10-year-old in Ohio who had to cross state lines to terminate a rape pregnancy. Indiana's Attorney General threatened to go after the license of the doctor who performed the abortion on that child for allegedly not reporting the procedure. But new evidence shows the doctor did file a terminated pregnancy report within the period required by law. Now, this story also shedding light on the political impacts of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The National Desk's Haley Nelson reports.
A situation gaining national attention. An Indiana doctor telling reporters about a child, 10 years old, coming from Ohio to Indiana for an abortion. Attorney General Dave Yost had appeared on national news, seeming to call the initial story into question, sparking a lot of discussion. ABC 6 obtained video of court proceedings Wednesday.
All right, the charge is rape, felony of the first degree.
A man accused of raping a child. The Attorney General telling us Wednesday.
My heart is broken that an innocent 10-year-old girl was raped. After he's convicted, he deserves to spend the rest of his life in prison.
All this adding to the national debate about abortion and reproductive rights. I asked Ohio State University Professor Emeritus of Political Science, Paul Beck, about the political implications here as campaigning continues.
Again, we'll see. And we'll see what state legislatures do. I think the people who are pro-life are going to push very hard to enact the most severe restrictions on abortion that they can. And that could get them into hot water. And I think that former Mayor Whaley is going to try to take advantage of that. She's got an uphill struggle. because she is contesting against an incumbent governor.
Asking particularly about the race for Ohio's attorney general and governor seat.
They sure are going to try. It's going to be a turnout contest. And both sides are going to try to do everything they can to get their base to the polls and make sure their base is voting in the election.
Dr. Beck believes these topics will be big ones in Ohio and national races now and in the years to come.
How long will voters' memories be?
Politicians are very good at reminding them.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine some of the Nan Whaley ads or some of the ads that the Democratic candidate for the Attorney General is going to run against Yost, where Yost was front and center claiming that this was really a phony story. And of course, it doesn't turn out to be the case.
That was Haley Nelson reporting. The man who confessed to raping and impregnating the 10-year-old girl is being held on a $2 million bond. The president fist bumps the leader of Saudi Arabia. People expressing outrage back here at home. Coming up, what happened inside that meeting and why it's so controversial. Plus, millions of kids headed back to the classroom, but they may not be enough teachers to greet them. What are states doing to get ahead of that problem? Our fact-check team investigates. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now. Catch us live weekdays from 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time, and anytime online at thenationaldesk.com. We're back after this. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. Our team of nearly 4,000 local journalists bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. From efforts to fix the pilot shortage in Texas to a gang of turkeys taking over an Ohio neighborhood. We're taking the pulse of America. We start with controversial flyers surfacing in Maine.
We saw them just littered all over the neighborhood and in the street, on front lawns, in driveways.
Near the Admiralty Village neighborhood in Kittery, where members of the so-called Nationalist Social Club recently dumped thousands of these small recruitment flyers under the cover of darkness.
It was clearly stated that it was the Nationalist Social Club, and they are a neo-Nazi group. It appeared like they had just driven through the neighborhood and kind of thrown them out the windows. They were everywhere.
The town council held a special meeting on this Monday.
They put themselves out in places with masks on.
But others told the city council this recruitment effort must be taken seriously.
Although we pride ourselves in this nation on having free speech, we cannot let it appear that we will accept or tolerate it leading to any form of violent physical action.
I'm the mom of 2 black children, so it made me feel nervous that there were people in my neighborhood who could see these flyers.
It's a race against time to get thousands of airline pilots trained.
You know, growing up, I never thought that flying as a woman was even possible. You know, you never see any female pilots.
Flight instructor Delina Bowie started as a flight attendant, and now she sees the sky from a different point of view.
It was very exciting, but also very terrifying.
The AeroGuard Flight Training Center program focuses on training the next generation of airline pilots. There was already a shortage of pilots pre-pandemic.
The fact is that a lot of current pilots are going to retire in the next, 5-10 years.
Pilots are required to log 1,500 flight hours.
It's pretty expensive, costs a pretty penny, but I think it's definitely worth it.
That's why industry leaders are working to make sure the price of becoming a pilot doesn't turn people away.
First, start off with taking a discovery flight at your local flight school to see if you like it. I did 4 before I decided, just to make sure, because it is a big change in my career.
I came out the door here one day.
Polly Lisco didn't expect to get 3 new neighbors so suddenly.
I'm like, what? And they were right up here on the doorstep. I'm going, what?
Elisco, like many Hilliard residents, knows all about what they call these three turkeys, the Hilliard Turkey Gang.
They walk up through the parking lot, through the post office. They'll go up through the Kroger.
He even knows their feeding schedule.
Right now, this should be a late lunch. Even the birds here have gotten used to them, and they'll feed around. So will the squirrels.
The Ohio Division of Wildlife saying the flock of three have become urbanized and will either rejoin a larger flock in fall or stay here in Hilliard.
Not completely unusual to see some wild turkeys in Columbus.
As long as people keep a safe distance and avoid giving them human food, they can continue to coexist.
You know, it's almost like having kids. Yeah, I got grandkids, but it's almost like having kids.
Looks like they found a new home. The new school year is just weeks away in some districts. New policymakers, though, across the country now working to lower certification requirements for teachers. They're hoping to avoid more shortages. Our fact check team looks into the specific measures some states are taking.
About a dozen states have recently changed or considering changing teaching certification rules to ease the pressure amid the ongoing nationwide teacher shortage. I'm back tonight with Connor and Courtney from our fact check team. Connor, you looked into what individual states are doing right now to help kind of protect the profession.
That's right, and they're relaxing those certification requirements and doing things like changing licensing criteria and lowering the passing score on tests or just dropping them altogether. Here's what a few states are doing specifically. California legislators voted last year to cut 2 different exams teachers had to take to earn their credentials, and Missouri State Board of Education voted to grant teaching certificates to test takers who barely fail their exam. Now, the state's Department of Education is supportive of this policy change and says it could add roughly 550 teachers a year to their workforce. And Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a bill in May. It removes the requirement for teacher candidates to pass a general education exam. Lawmakers and state officials says this was a good call because the exam was redundant and a financial barrier to future teachers.
But Courtney, of course, on the other side of this, there are concerns about when you talk about relaxing some of these certification processes for teachers.
That's right. Critics are worried about lowering this standard, especially at a time when schools are still working to make up for lost learning during the pandemic. Heather Pesk, the president of the National Council on Teacher Quality, said that, quote, endorsing an option that asks less of teachers in terms of their content knowledge means you shift the burden onto students. Now, she recommends a different approach, like more support given to aspiring teachers so they can pass those state exams.
Tracking this shortage as we are just a few weeks out from the start of this upcoming school session. Connor and Courtney, thank you tonight. The Fact Check team will continue to follow developments on these and several other issues. You can also read this story, links to where they found all of their information on our website, thenationaldesk.com.
The president travels abroad, making a controversial stop.
Is he going to raise, the names of our relatives? Is he going to ask for their release?
The president's visit to Saudi Arabia and the human rights issues some are demanding he address. Food, gas, and housing all costing more than they did just 1 year ago. We're sharing some new numbers out this week showing what kind of increases we're still to see down the road. Friday, the president and top Saudi officials met in Saudi Arabia. Among those in that meeting, King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. A fist bump between President Biden and the Crown Prince captured on camera as the president arrived. No microphones were allowed in Friday's meeting, but the president reportedly asking for a bump in oil exports from abroad to lower costs here at home. This visit causing lots of controversy after the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi and other human rights violations by the regime. The National Desk talking to the sister of one political prisoner ahead of the visit.
What does that visit mean? Is he going to raise, the names of our relatives? Is he going to ask for their release? I mean, I know oil at this time is very important, but so is human rights.
Now, Biden himself did not respond to a reporter asking if he still believed Saudi Arabia was, quote, a pariah, a comment he made during the 2020 election. Now, Biden has not made oil prices a centerpiece of his trip, but did mention in a Washington Post op-ed that the trip to Saudi Arabia will help stabilize oil markets. Our Jan Jeffcoat spoke to Florida Congressman Mike Waltz, asking him about his stops in both Saudi Arabia and Israel this week.
I think the two white elephants in the room, even though the president kind of touched on it in his ed, which is quite rare to see a president have to justify a trip in an op-ed, but he's been receiving criticism from both the left and the right on this trip. But I think the two white elephants in the room are the Iran deal and global oil prices. We'll remember just a few months ago, the king of Saudi Arabia wouldn't even take President Biden's call when he called to talk about oil production. So I think those are absolutely what this trip is all about. I am happy to see him going to our greatest ally in the region, Israel, but I am not happy to see donating yet more taxpayer funds, hundreds of millions of dollars, to the Palestinian Authority, which is rife with corruption and has not the terrorist group Hamas, which just last year was launching rockets into Israeli cities. So I think this is really kind of just a mixed, I guess, bag of an agenda here, and not a very clear strategy and not a very clear position of strength from the United States.
Right. What specifically are you watching for?
Well, number one, I'm watching for a continuation and an outward explicit expression from the president of the groundbreaking historic Abraham Accords and how he can continue to pull the Gulf nations together with Israel in a common cause and defense against the Iranian regime, which is marching towards a nuclear weapon and which would absolutely set off an arms race across the Middle East. And none of us, and no one should want or allow a nuclear-armed Middle East.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned that because the president trying hard to isolate Russia, but Putin is now meeting with Iranian leaders with their nuclear threats, as you mentioned. So how troubling is this to see Russia and Iran wanting to show the world they are meeting and announcing this?
Well, that needs to be the president's main point to both the Gulf nations, the Saudis, and the Israelis, is we are continuing to see a consolidation, an axis of evil, so to speak, of China, Iran, and Russia. They are backing Iran, not the Gulf states. The Gulf states need to be aligned with the United States, and the president needs to reinforce peace. And then when it comes to inflation, energy prices, and oil, it's quite ironic that the president is, and sad, frankly, that the president is reaching out practically hat in hand to countries like Iran, Venezuela, and Saudi Arabia and begging them to produce more when we could produce it right here at home, if only he would unleash American energy.
And we also asked the congressman about sending American oil to China and if it's too expensive to make more products right here in the USA. That full interview posted right now on thenationaldesk.com. Check it out. Doctors seeing a rise in men taking birth control into their own hands now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned. Coming up, the rise in vasectomies and why some men say they are not afraid of going under the knife. We'll be right back. Taking a look at the top trending stories on our website right now. Police in Baltimore, Maryland have arrested a 15-year-old so-called squeegee kid. They say shot and killed a driver in the city. 14 states, including California and Georgia, offering stimulus checks to some residents as inflation continues to rise. And police in the old mining town of Jerome, Arizona, asking residents to stop yelling at tourists, or they could face harassment charges. Those stories and more online right now at thenationaldesk.com. And taking a look ahead at a few stories we're following for you in the coming week. A Louisiana judge will hear arguments about Louisiana's trigger abortion ban. Enforcement of the ban was blocked this past Tuesday. Lawyers head back to court Monday, July 18th. The teen accused of killing 4 of his classmates at a Michigan school is expected back in court Thursday, July 21st. And employees of a Trader Joe's in western Massachusetts are voting to form the supermarket's first union. That's happening Wednesday, July 27th. The latest inflation numbers show prices rising at a pace not seen in 40 years. Coming up, we ask an expert what those numbers mean for your wallet and the future of small businesses across America.
Some lawmakers in Congress looking for ways to get around the Supreme Court ruling on abortion. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington to explain.
You are watching The National Desk, America's News Now. Don't forget you can catch us live weekdays 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time, and anytime online, of course, at thenationaldesk.com. We'll be right back.
The National Desk, America's News Now.
Another look at our top stories. The Fed could raise interest rates a full % after new numbers show prices are up 9.1% over just a year ago. The doctor who performed an abortion on a 10-year-old in Indiana says she reported the procedure to authorities as required. The doctor's attorney says they're considering legal action after an investigation was launched against her. And surveillance video of the response to a school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, causing renewed outrage. The video was leaked to a local news outlet. Taking a look now at Washington, D.C., where the Biden administration is warning pharmacies of possible civil rights violations if they refuse to fill prescriptions for drugs that could result in pregnancy termination. HHS says it received reports of patients being denied certain medications that could lead to abortions following the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade. Now, those drugs include things like heartburn and cancer medications, among others, but also mifepristone, an abortion pill often used for first trimester miscarriages. The reversal of Roe sparking some women to stock up on birth control, but also motivating some men to get sterilized. Some doctors' offices now reporting an increase in men requesting vasectomies. Daily searches for vasectomies increased by 99% after the leaked draft came out. Dr. Douglas Stein, so-called vasectomy king, telling NBC News that men calling his office are skewing younger and childless.
When you put those together, a young age and no children, that's where you see your biggest increase in numbers.
The procedure is 100% reversible should I change my mind in the future. And that takes all of that pressure off of my wife, my life partner.
Well, one clinic in Houston, Texas says it's performing about 15 vasectomies each day. More than 2 weeks after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the House has passed 2 bills to codify abortion rights into federal law as members of Congress look for ways to push back against the controversial decision. The president getting pressure from inside his own party to do more to protect women's rights. The National Desk chief political correspondent Scott Thuman reports.
A flurry of activity on Capitol Hill. President Biden's team coordinating with Democrats, scheduling votes and holding hearings.
Banning abortion care will not stop people from seeking abortions.
The Justice Department introducing a reproductive rights task force to guide women seeking abortions in states where it's still allowed. But speculation about what else can be done.
We think the White House can be aggressive without ceasing. There can be an executive order every week.
83 Democrats sending a letter to Biden asking him to declare a public health emergency. The president sending his health secretary to meet with progressives Wednesday, seeking more ways to work around the Supreme Court ruling.
This extremist partisan court is really overstepping the bounds of its authority.
But Republicans cite polling that most Americans want at least some restrictions.
We all remember Bill Clinton, who said he wanted to see abortion safe, legal, and rare. Today's Democrat Party doesn't want it rare. It wants as much abortion as possible.
And the GOP arguing the issue's been clouded by progressives.
You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups.
Democrats now calling for dramatic changes to the high court. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez stating impeachment should be on the table, expansion should be on the table, an ethics rule should be on the table. All of it should be considered right now. This court has gone rogue.
That was Scott Thuman reporting. Those bills are headed to the Senate, where they're unlikely to pass. Republicans have already announced they plan to block those votes. New polling from 538 and Ipsos show 1 in 5 Americans rate abortion as a top issue. In a survey of 2,000 Americans, more than 1,500 ranked abortion as the 4th most important issue facing the country, behind extremism, gun violence, and inflation. 19% of that group listed it as its top concern. An inflation double whammy. The day after the Consumer Price Index showed prices up 9.1%, the Producer Price Index reports they skyrocketed by 11.3%, and that's well above what economists predicted. The Producer Price Index measures the final prices that producers are paid for their product. It's generally used as an indicator of what kind of increases we're going to see down the road. Well, currently sitting above the Consumer Index, it means inflation may not have peaked. Taking a closer look at this month, again, the year-over-year jump, 11.3%. That's less than 0.5% off from the all-time high we saw back in March. Now, most of that is due to gas prices. They jumped 18.5% in June. Diesel also up 13.9%. But you're also paying more at the grocery store. Poultry up 3.3% in June, followed by soft drinks and dairy products also seeing some increases. A surprising drop, though, here, eggs. Those tumbled down more than 30%. With the latest inflation numbers at 9.1%, how does this all translate to you, the American consumer, and how does this impact small businesses and the day-to-day workforce? Our Megan O'Halloran spoke with Elaine Parker with the Job Creators Network for her perspective.
Well, thanks for having me. This has been very difficult for small businesses coming out of this pandemic. They were disproportionately impacted in a negative way during the pandemic. Of course, they were not essential, so many of them were shut down by the government. And as they come out of this pandemic and try to recover, they're facing all kinds of problems, from supply chain issues to high gas prices and inflation like we haven't seen in 40 years. And the net effect of that is very difficult for small businesses. I speak with our members all the time, and their costs are increasing, not just 5 or 10%, but 400% and 500% for the things that they're buying and their inputs. And they're seeing it on the front end, because as their prices are, there's a lagging factor. As their prices are increasing, they're not passing it on right away. Consumers don't see it right away. So we're going to continue as consumers feeling this pain as well. And the people who are being hurt the most are the people who are at the lowest end of the income spectrum.
A question a lot of us have: how long do you think this will last, the trickle-down effect to the consumer, and how hard will everybody be hit?
Well, look, I don't think that the pain is over by any stretch of the imagination from the folks that I've been speaking with. It's hard to tell how long it's going to last. This started, when the Biden administration came in. It started on day one when President Biden signed that executive order canceling the Keystone Pipeline and essentially declaring war on fossil fuels. Along the way, canceling, land leases, and the price of gas started to increase. We went from an energy independent country. We were actually a net exporter under the previous administration, and now we are energy dependent. And President Biden is heading to Saudi Arabia to basically beg for oil from a country that doesn't even like us. So I think that as long as we're in this position and the president continues to come up with Band-Aids instead of real solutions, which is increasing our domestic drilling and stopping the reckless spending, we're going to continue to feel the pain as everyday ordinary Americans.
Well, Elaine, you mentioned a lot of policy decisions there. Your organization, the mission statement is to hold politicians accountable to job creators and their employees. What else do you think the Biden administration can be doing right now, or what other strategies should they be taking to combat historic price hikes?
Well, the biggest thing they need to do is stop gaslighting the American people and trying to blame everybody else, from the Putin price hike to blaming the oil companies and now blaming gas station owners. I mean, those are just small business owners trying to make a living and stay in business, and they're paying the increased prices as well. So the Biden administration needs to take their foot off the neck of the oil industry. Let us get back to the domestic drilling. I mean, we poll small business owners every month, and 3/4 of our small business owners around the country believe that the Biden administration needs to increase domestic drilling to help combat these high gas prices.
Well, on top of the small business owners, you have the employees that work for them. After the inflation adjustment, workers' hourly wages fell 1% during the month, and they're down 3.6% from a year ago. What's your advice for the overall workforce feeling like they're losing ground here?
Yeah, I mean, look, wages are increasing at 5.1%, but inflation is 9.1%. So before we ever go fill up our tank, we're taking a 4% pay cut, and that really hurts, when you're also paying more for milk, bread, eggs. You're not able to get the goods that you need. That's very difficult on employees. And of course, what do they want to do? They want to go to their employers and ask for raises. So you can see how the cycle continues to get worse and worse, especially for our small businesses who are trying to just tread water and stay alive. And this administration continues to, try to push more policies that want to spend. They're trying to negotiate a deal now on what's left of the Build Back Better plan, which would be another, $1 trillion of spending and more taxes. Thank God we have a firewall there with Senator Joe Manchin, but it's just unbelievable that they continue to not acknowledge what the problem is and try to basically tell the American people they can't believe their lying eyes.
Still looking for solutions to turn the economy around. Elaine Parker, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks so much.
We've seen several economic recessions throughout our country's history, with some of them more milder than others. I'm back tonight with our fact check team. Courtney, we first start with you. You looked into one of the more relatively milder recessions that took place back in the early 90s.
Right. The Gulf War recession only lasted 8 months, which may be part of the reason it's considered mild. This recession began a month before Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the resulting oil price shock may have contributed to a dull economic recovery. The country saw a 1.5% decline in GDP, and the unemployment rate peaked at 6.8%. Something else to note here, the Fed had raised rates from 6.5% in '88 to 9.75% in '89 in an effort to simmer inflation, which rose 1.7 percentage points between '86 and '90.
So key follow-up question, any similarities between then and now?
Well, one similarity is the aspect of war hiking oil prices. As we've seen recently, oil prices have hit record highs with the ongoing war in Ukraine, and in both scenarios, the economy was already in somewhat bad shape in the years leading up to the war, with the failure of thousands of savings and loan institutions in the late '80s causing the mortgage lending market to hit record lows and COVID causing an economic shutdown.
And then fast forward another 10 years, Connor, we saw another mild recession in 2001.
That's right. This one only lasted 8 months as well and was brought on by the dot-com bubble in 2000 when tons of investors poured money into tech startups that were unable to turn a profit. This forced those companies to go bankrupt and made the NASDAQ drop almost 77%. And of course, the 9/11 attack worsened the downturn because it made the markets close for several days. And when they did reopen, the Dow had its largest one-day drop of 7.1%.
Of course, same follow-up question here. Any similarities there about 20 years ago?
There's a few, and here's a big one. There's concern we're in another tech bubble because tech shares today are down about 30%. But there's a huge difference here because unlike 2001, many of the publicly traded tech companies are not startups and usually make massive profits like Amazon and Google. So even if their shares do fall, these businesses aren't going to disappear like they did in 2001.
Keeping your eye on the economy ahead, Connor and Courtney tonight, thank you very much. The Fact Check team will continue to follow developments on this and several other important issues. You can also read this story with links to where they found all of their information tonight on our website, thenationaldesk.com.
From brick and mortar establishments to mobile eateries, rising prices hitting the restaurant business even harder. Still ahead, the products making the cost of your meal go up. But first,
looks like something possibly went through the windshield.
the close call that has one woman saying she is lucky to be alive. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now. Catch us live weekdays 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time. We're back after this. The National Desk team of reporters bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Utah, where a piece of flying metal went through a windshield. That driver miraculously survives, walking away from the incident with just a scratch.
Mile marker 20, I-215 west, north, down 10, for possible Ford Explorer pulled over to the left.
The call came in just before 1.
Looks like something possibly went through the windshield.
And this is what troopers saw when they got there. Inside,
I think it was adrenaline and shock.
Was Annette Beavis.
And then out of the blue, a big chunk of metal debris came flying and went right through my window shield.
Annette says she thinks a speeding car that cut in front of her hit the metal piece, sending it directly at her windshield.
I got a slight cut in my ear from dodging the glass, but I cleaned it up and it's all good.
Others who've encountered road debris haven't been so lucky. In March, Brady Furman was killed by road debris that went through his windshield on I-15 in Roy. In 2020, Lance Budge was killed while swerving to avoid a ladder that flew off a construction truck. Last year in Kaysville, canvas bags that came off a catering company's vehicle caused a sudden stop on I-15. A truck rear-ended another car, killing 3 people.
Somebody could have died.
Annette knows this close call could have been worse, and she hopes people will realize the impact their loose items can have on other lives.
Especially not having anybody to answer for that, and the fact that it almost cost me my life, just an average day going to work.
In Utah, researchers say they've developed a formula that predicts crime before it happens. The algorithm from researchers at the University of Chicago uses public data to predict patterns, anticipating crime up to a week in advance.
You're going to use extra patrols, crime suppression units, investigative units in those areas in the future to make sure that you do suppress the crime.
Model creators say the algorithm is right about 90% of the time. And in California, food truck prices on the rise. Food trucks are struggling as food costs and gas prices continue to soar. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs have all gone up nearly 15%. Some food truck owners say they've had to modify their menus and raise prices.
The price of protein, specifically like beef, has definitely gone up 3 times since 2020. So yes, when people think that the taco should be $2 and they're maybe paying $3 or $4, well, it's because everything has definitely doubled for them.
At least one food truck owner says he is barely breaking even. In Ohio, students at Highland Elementary School will return to a unique new classroom this fall. An outdoor classroom is now in front of the building after teachers and students suggested the idea. The space is available for anyone at the school to use for any reason.
It's going to be an organic use and see what beg, borrow, and steal, those great things teachers do naturally, to see what we can use this space for, and if we want to expand, what that could look like too.
Classroom starting August 15th. An American hero given one of the country's highest honors. Coming up, the West Virginian who risked his life to serve and then spent the rest of it honoring those who did not make it home. And inflation, economy, abortion, all affecting the president's polling numbers. Our Capitol Hill team breaking down what this says about his re-election efforts. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now.
Welcome back to TND. Our Washington Bureau covers Capitol Hill and D.C. every day to report on the important issues facing the country and how they impact you. 2 of our correspondents, Scott Thuman and Atra Elnishar, they're here with us to share their insights and analysis. Scott, it's been 3 weeks since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The fallout continued in Washington this past week.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And what you're seeing is the House really push forward now with a couple of bills to essentially codify, or to explain to people that means ensure the abortion access protections that were provided under Roe v. Wade. The problem is, while the House is moving forward, you've got the Senate that has every intention of blocking it. Republicans know that they have the numbers on that side to prevent it. You're not going to get 60 votes. And so it's a little bit of a fruitless effort by Democrats right now in the House, but it does keep this issue more and more alive. It enthuses people and it makes it more of a campaign strategy looking forward to the midterms. The one thing that is interesting is that Republicans are being relatively quiet about it, some analysts say, when it comes to campaigning right now, while as Democrats are making sure that this is a constant drumbeat. They believe this is the way to get people to the polls, possibly retain power in Congress.
Yeah, we'll be watching that very closely through November. Meanwhile, Atra, new inflation numbers and dashed hopes that spiking prices had peaked.
Yeah, that's right. The consumer price index for June was even worse than Wall Street expected. The new annual inflation rate is 9.1%. That's the worst since November 1981. And, you know, it's going to come to no surprise to people to hear that that was largely driven by energy. Gas prices were absolutely astronomical back in June. Now, we have seen about a month straight of declining national gas prices, but we're not going to see that reflected until July's CPI comes out. So we did see oil dip below $95 per barrel this week. That's less than it was when Russia invaded Ukraine. But a bright spot like that isn't reflected in any type of sign of optimism that we're seeing right now. We got new data on Friday from the University of Michigan's pretty prominent consumer sentiment index, and it shows it's still at an all-time low survey. In fact, the share of consumers blaming inflation for eroding their living expenses is now at 49%, half the country. And we also saw food prices drive a lot of that inflation. No surprise. Wheat products, as Ukraine is known as Europe's breadbasket. This is something that people were warning about early on in the invasion. So all of this causing big banks to revisit their predictions for recession. Bank of America this week was one of the last holdouts that finally caved and said they predict a recession this year.
And quickly, Scott, inflation, economy, abortion, these are the issues affecting Joe Biden's polling numbers. Give us a look at what's happening there.
Yeah, well, if you look at the analysis by 538, they say that President Biden right now is seeing his lowest approval ratings by their averages, 39%. And the reason that's significant is that is the worst number we have seen for any elected president at this point in his term since the end of World War II. And why does that matter? Well, President Biden was at 55 back in March. So it's a pretty precipitous decline. And it also, of course, bodes poorly for him moving forward and for Democrats in these midterms. The good news for him, if there is some, is that we saw this same type of problem for Bill Clinton, for George W. Bush, and for President Trump. All of them were able to rebound to some degree, get back in positive numbers based on some polling. The issue is that Biden's is so closely tied to the economy. That will determine either his fate or his future.
Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman, National Correspondent Atra Elnishar. Thank you both. Eugene, back to you.
Thanks to our Capitol Hill team. A man who served his country for nearly a century, honored at the U.S. Capitol.
What he talked about was patriotism and respecting the flag, respecting the country.
Coming up, why to many, Woody Williams was so much more than just a war hero. We're back after this. One of our nation's heroes honored at our nation's capital. This week, hundreds of mourners honored Herschel Woody Williams as he laid in honor in the Capitol Rotunda. Williams was a 98-year-old Medal of Honor recipient. He was instrumental in the Battle of Iwo Jima and started the Gold Star Family Program aimed at honoring those who lost loved ones serving our country. The West Virginia native passed away 2 weeks ago. Dave Benton from our station in Charleston, West Virginia, traveled to Washington this week. He spoke to people about the impact Williams had on his community.
Silence at the Capitol as members of the military carry Woody Williams' casket up the East Steps and into the Rotunda. The Congressional Medal of Honor recipient's body surrounded by family, dignitaries, and members of the military.
Thank you for allowing our nation to join you in mourning this patriotic American here in this temple of American democracy.
West Virginia Representative Carol Miller says she has fond memories of Williams.
I was in Rotary with Woody for 20 years and would come in to Shaunettes and sit. He'd be there reading his newspaper.
Leadership is guys like Woody Williams and what he did. I've known him for 20 years, and he's come to different schools that I've been at. And the one thing that he always taught kids wasn't about his war record and his heroics and things. What he talked about was patriotism and respecting the flag, respecting the country.
People in West Virginia have always known Woody as a hero. Now the country knows him as a national treasure. Reporting from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., I'm Dave Benton.
And that does it for this weekend edition of the National Desk, America's News Now. Don't forget you can watch us live from 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time. Check your local listings. You can also watch online and catch up with the latest headlines on thenationaldesk.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Eugene Ramirez. Have a great rest of your weekend.